They say words have power. But what happens when the words you write, your most sacred thoughts, your rawest emotions, become a weapon in someone else's hands? This isn't just a story about love, it's a story about betrayal. It's a story about truth. It's a story about me. My name is Noah. I'm not the guy who lights up the room. I'm the one who watches from the corner, quietly imagining lives I'll never live and loves I'll never have. I write stories, mostly the kind that never leave my journal. And for the longest time, that was enough. Until she came along. Mia. She was poetry. The kind you read slowly, afraid to miss a single word. The kind you don't dare to write about because you know you'll never do her justice. And then there's Max, my best friend, golden boy. The kind of guy who doesn't need to try, he just is. Loud, magnetic, effortless. So when Max told me he was into Mia, I felt something twist inside me. But I smiled. I nodded. I said the words I've said too many times before. Sure, I'll help. It started with a single letter. Max said he couldn't find the words, so I gave him mine. A letter that spilled everything I felt but couldn't say. Lines like, "You walk like music sounds, every step a note, every look a melody." Max handed it to her like it was nothing, and she smiled. He came back, asking for another, and another, and another. I told myself I was helping, told myself it was fine, told myself she'd never look at me that way anyway. But every word I gave him was a piece of me. My soul bleeding onto paper, my heart beating in someone else's voice. And still, I kept writing. Because somewhere in my broken logic, I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd feel me in the letters, even if she never knew the truth. But I was wrong. One night I overheard them. Max laughing. "She's eating it up. God, she's so easy. I just say whatever Noah scribbles down and boom, she's hooked." And that's when it happened. The crack in my chest became a crater. The truth slapped me so hard I could barely breathe. He didn't care. Not about the words, not about her. And she was falling for him. Because of me, because of my words, my thoughts, my feelings, my soul, used, twisted, stolen. So I did what writers do best. I told the story. I started a blog, anonymous, hidden. Every letter I ever wrote for Max. I published it. But this time, under my name, my real name. No edits, no filters. Just truth. 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 The blog went viral. People called it the most romantic thing they'd ever read. A love that felt real, raw. And then, someone dug deeper. They found out who Max was, who Mia was, who I was. Suddenly, the golden boy was a fraud, and I was the ghostwriter who became the voice. But I didn't stop there. I wrote one final letter, not for the world, for Mia. A letter that said, "The truth is, every word you ever loved came from me, and I never wanted to lie. I just didn't know if I deserved to be heard. But if you felt anything, if any of those words reached you, then maybe you weren't falling for Max at all. Maybe you were falling for me." She showed up the next day, letter in hand, eyes that could drown oceans, voice like whispered thunder. And she said, "I knew." She knew from the beginning. She felt the difference. She heard me in those letters. Not Max. Never Max. But she needed to know if I'd ever fight for her. If I'd ever find the courage to be more than just a writer in the shadows. And in the end, I did. With my words, with my truth, with my heart. Love isn't about grand gestures. It's not about flowers or fireworks or even the perfect letter. It's about honesty. It's about vulnerability. It's about showing up, even when you're terrified. I almost lost her because I thought I wasn't enough. Because I let someone else wear my words like a mask. But the truth? The truth always finds its way. And sometimes the quietest voice is the one that matters most. If you've ever hidden your heart behind silence, if you've ever let someone else steal your spotlight, if you've ever written a love letter you never dared to send, this is your sign. Write it, send it, speak it, because the world needs your truth. And someone out there is waiting to hear it, in your voice. Hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below if any of those words reached you.